FIEL Houston Executive Director Cesar Espinosa was removed from last week's Houston City Council meeting after he suggested city officials lied about the detention of an autistic 15-year-old. Emmanuel Gonzalez Garcia reportedly went missing 2 weeks ago while selling fruit on the street with his mother. The boy ultimately ended up in federal custody. In a few minutes, we'll talk with Espinosa about his concerns and why he was removed from last week's meeting. First, let's see if we can get some clarification on the timeline of events and what this might or might not have to do with how Houston police interact with federal officials, including ICE. Matt DeGrood has been reporting on this saga for the Houston Chronicle and joins us now. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm all right, and yourself?
I'm well.
First, what more can you tell us about this 15-year-old?
Well, so it's not clear why he has ended up in custody. Typically, when HPD stumbles upon a juvenile, they're asked to turn that person back over to their family or CPS. In this case, there's more questions than answers at this point. We don't know why ICE got involved. ICE says they never actually took custody of the 15-year-old, and then it's not 100% clear why the Office of Refugee Resettlement is ultimately who took the child.
To your knowledge, at least as of the last word, is he still in the custody of the Office of Refugee Resettlement?
As far as I know, yes.
Do we know why?
We don't.
We do know that he underwent apparently surgery, an appendicitis, had an appendix removed. Could that be part of what's at play here? Just that, while he's under medical care, somebody has to have that authority over his care?
I'm sure that plays a role in it. And then I think once somebody ends up in their custody, it, kind of turns into a bureaucratic process to get anybody out.
Do we know anything about his health status?
As far as I know, we have not received any updates since notification that he would be undergoing surgery.
This is not the only case that you have covered of somebody with, in this case, is a child we believe is autistic, and where there's been somebody with either a mental health or a developmental challenge or in some sort of crisis situation, something like that, where they come in contact with Houston police and then ultimately end up in federal custody, in some cases even deported. Can you give some other examples of when that's happened?
In crisis, not so much, but there's been a growing number of people that HPD has encountered that they then call ICE because their names have been entered into this national warrant database.
Yeah. I mean, I do know among the things you've reported on earlier this month, there was a Mexican woman who was deported after her family reached out to the Houston Police Department during a mental health episode. And I guess also last spring, Houston Police called federal immigration agents on a woman who dialed 911 to report domestic abuse by her ex-husband.
That's correct. Basically, there are 700,000 names nationwide that have been entered into this database, and they have administrative warrants, basically orders for their deportation. And these hadn't been available to HPD to see before the start of this year. And, it's kind of a new world for everybody involved. HPD's directive from the beginning of this year is that officers are supposed to, anytime they come across somebody whose name shows up in this database, they're supposed to call ICE and basically, let them decide whether they want to show up and take this person into federal custody or not.
Do we know how often that's happened?
It's happened north of 100 times so far this year, which is quite a dramatic escalation from any previous year. HPD is using this internal code to log these incidents. It's been around for a couple of years, but the most they've ever used it before was around 9 times in 2024.
Houston Mayor John Whitmire has repeatedly said HPD will hold violent criminals accountable and assist crime victims regardless of their immigration status. He's also said HPD would not get involved in immigration enforcement, but also noted that officers are required to contact an arresting agency when they come across a person with a warrant. Do these records that you looked through confirm or counter all of that?
This is one of those times where I think the specific wording that everybody's using is important. Experts have told me that based on the records, based on sort of HPD's interactions with ICE, that it does seem like they are cooperating. I think the city's response would be, they aren't physically arresting anybody. They can't on these immigration-related issues, and that they're not going around asking for people's citizenship papers. They're just calling ICE whenever these names show up in this database.
So what lingering questions do you have at the moment about how often and why HPD does interact with ICE?
I think there are more questions than answers at this point, and I think that's true sort of for everybody involved. I think there's questions about whether HPD is actually legally required to do this or not. I think, because these aren't local criminal charges, how is HPD holding these people while they wait for ICE to show up to the scene? Why is ICE coming out to the scene in some of these but not others? And how much individual discretion do officers have in deciding whether or not to call ICE?
I guess these are questions we will aim to get answered in the days, weeks, perhaps months, or even years to come.
Fingers crossed.
Matt DeGrood is a reporter with the Houston Chronicle. Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And as I said, FIEL Houston Executive Director Cesar Espinosa was removed from last week's Houston City Council meeting after he suggested the mayor and police chief were lying about the detention of 15-year-old Emmanuel Gonzalez Garcia. Espinosa joins us now. Cesar, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us.
What specifically do you believe the mayor and police chief are lying about?
There's many lies that they're spreading about this family. Number one is that they were able to have a conversation with Emmanuel for they claim for 4 hours, which anybody that knows Emmanuel, me having met Emmanuel personally at the hospital, can tell you that he's not able to have a conversation for more than just a few minutes. The second biggest lie is that they're saying that there's nothing wrong with this child, that there's nothing wrong when we have records. Now we have records from his school, from his counselors that explain that he does have a mental disorder. And now they want to see an actual proof. But one of the biggest challenges that this mom has had is to secure health care for her children. So she hasn't been able to take Emmanuel to a specialist. The third biggest thing is that when he was found, they claim to have done everything possible to reunite with this child, with his mom. When HPD had the missing persons report, and ICE sent out a statement that they were contacted by HPD. So where's the truth? What really happened to Emmanuel in the hours that he was missing from his mom?
This case aside, is it your further contention that the Houston Police Department is engaging with federal immigration officers, with ICE in particular, in ways beyond what Mayor Whitmire has contended it would?
This is one of 105 recorded times where HPD has said that they have contacted ICE just this year. And we have had many people reach out to our office. with these same claims, including right at the beginning of February, we had a person who was pulled over for a cracked windshield who did not have an order of deportation, who was expeditiously deported back to El Salvador after HPD pulled him over.
You and your organization are also currently the subject of a lawsuit from the Texas Attorney General's office. A judge last week ruled that suit to shut down FIEL Houston can move forward. The Attorney General claims you are in violation of nonprofit laws for your criticism of the president, the governor, and others over how they are executing immigration policy. What do you say in response to all that?
At the end of the day, we criticize whoever is not doing right by our community. Unfortunately, immigration is such a polarizing subject that people want to throw the ball around and say that we are blaming specific people for things they're doing for immigrants. But at the end of the day, all we are doing is speaking up for our community and making sure that we advocate for their rights and their ability to be here in the United States at the same time as advocate for policy changes. At no point have we said anything ill about parties. In fact, we criticize everybody when they are doing the wrong thing for our community.
Back to Emmanuel Gonzalez Garcia. He is, to your knowledge, still in federal custody at the moment. Is that correct?
Yes. So after HPD picked him up on Sunday, they knew where he was. And I think that's the other thing that really bothers us is that they knew where he was that same night, yet nobody reached out to mom. We were combing the city for a week before mom was even told that he was in federal custody. Then he was sent to the hospital, and after the hospital, we were guaranteed that he was going to be able to, mom was going to be able to come back to the hospital to say goodbye to Emmanuel because we knew he could be taken away. And in fact, they rushed him out as soon as we left. Within 30 minutes, mom was receiving a call that Emmanuel was going to be sent back to federal custody without even spending 24 hours at the hospital after his surgery. As far as we know, he had not had a bowel movement by the time we left. And we know that's critical for people who have undergone appendicitis surgery.
Is it clear to you why this is playing out the way it is? Has there been any explanation given to you or to this child's mother as to why she is not allowed to have access to him or to regain custody of him?
Well, as you noted earlier, this family now has to undergo a very bureaucratic process to be able to get a hold back of her child. But HPD and the mayor could right this wrong immediately and say, we made a mistake. This is not an unaccompanied minor. And they could ask for Emmanuel to be returned back to his mom immediately. Emmanuel's scared. Emmanuel, when he said bye to his mom for the last time before he got taken back to custody, he said, Mom, I don't understand why they're taking me. Why I want to go home with you. And subsequently, he's been telling mom that he misses her, that he's bored in the detention center. Emmanuel likes to be outside, which is part of the issue why he walked off. I mean, there's so many things here. But at the end of the day, holding this child, claiming that he is an unaccompanied minor is just wrong for this family. And all of Houston should be up in arms about this.
Cesar Espinosa is the executive director of the immigrant rights organization FIEL Houston. Cesar, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.